What are you doing here with this van?
Just making my scheduled delivery, same route I do every
I'm
week.
a lot of boxes here. Look suspicious. You don't look like you belong at this
These are all logged. I've got the manifest right here, the front desk
I'm not
note.
asking what you think. I'm telling you this doesn't look
I
right.
haven't bothered
Scanner
anyone.
down.
I'm just delivering packages.
Standing around a high-value building with
The first sign that things were about to go wrong wasn't the police siren. It was the way the building went still. The hum of the loading dock, the clatter of metal carts on concrete, the murmur of lobby conversations drifting through the service entrance. All of it seemed to pause the moment a patrol car rolled up behind the white delivery van parked at the curb. Inside that van, a black delivery driver named Marcus Reed was doing what he'd done almost every weekday for years, scanning the manifest, counting packages, making sure the right boxes went to the right floors. He wasn't speeding, he wasn't yelling, he wasn't doing anything except his job. But on that afternoon, in front of that downtown office building, his job was about to be redefined for him. Because to a rookie cop pulling up with his heart racing and his training still fresh, Marcus wasn't a father trying to finish his route and get home for dinner. He was a suspicious male with a van full of boxes, and that label, vague, lazy, soaked in bias, would end up costing a city and a corporation a combined $1.2 million. To understand how it got that far, you have to know who Marcus was before the blue lights ever flashed behind him. Marcus had been a delivery driver for nearly a decade. He'd started out in a smaller truck, running residential routes, dropping off everything from baby formula to flat-screen TVs. Over the years, he'd worked his way up to commercial accounts, big office towers, law firms, tech companies, places where one missed delivery could throw off an entire day's schedule. He was good at it. The kind of good that meant supervisors stopped worrying when they saw his name on a route. Packages arrived on time. Customers signed without complaints. Security guards knew him by name. He kept his uniform clean. He double-checked signatures. He always said, "Yes, ma'am," and "Yes, sir," not because anyone told him to, but because he'd learned a long time ago that being black in certain spaces meant you had to be twice as polite just to be treated as normal. On the day everything changed, Marcus was halfway through his afternoon route. The downtown stop, a 30-story glass tower with a polished marble lobby, was one he knew well. He'd been driving to that building twice a week for years. Same loading dock, same freight elevator, same small talk with the security guard at the front desk. He backed the van up to the marked space, checked that the hazard lights were on, and slid open the side door. Rows of brown boxes stared back at him. He grabbed the hand truck, scanned the barcodes, and stacked the first load. Inside the building, the lobby cameras watched it all. So did someone else. On the 12th floor, behind a glass office partition, an employee looked down and saw something they didn't like. Not a crime, not an emergency. Just a black man in a branded delivery uniform, unloading boxes in a place he'd been dozens of times before. Maybe they were jumpy from a recent news story. Maybe they were the type of person who thinks every van is casing the place. Maybe they'd seen Marcus 100 times and never noticed him until that day. Whatever the reason, they picked up the phone. "Yeah, I'd like to report something suspicious," they told the non-emergency police line. "There's a guy in a delivery truck outside our building. He's been out there a while. I don't recognize him. It doesn't feel right." The dispatcher asked a few questions. "Is he threatening you?" "No." "Does he have a weapon?" "Not that I can see." "Is he yelling or causing a disturbance?" "No, he's just there." But the word was already on the record: suspicious. Not because of what he was doing, but because of who he was while he was doing it. A unit was dispatched, and in the patrol car that heard the call, a rookie officer's brain did what too many brains in power do when they hear "black man" and "suspicious" in the same sentence. It filled in the blanks with fear instead of facts. If you've ever watched these stories play out and thought, "That could have been me, my brother, my neighbor," I want to hear from you. Drop a yes in the comments if you've seen someone just doing their job treated like a threat anyway. Tell me where you're watching from. And if you believe these cases shouldn't be swept under bland headlines, like Incident with Delivery Driver, go ahead and hit like and subscribe. It helps more people find these stories. And trust me, there are far too many of them. Now, back to the loading dock, because what happened when that rookie cop stepped out of his car is what turned a routine delivery into a six-figure lesson. The patrol car pulled up behind the van at an angle, blocking it in. Marcus noticed the reflection of flashing lights first, bouncing off the building's glass facade. He frowned. Parking enforcement? He checked his watch. He wasn't over his time. By the time he turned, the officer was already out of the car, hand resting on his holster, voice raised just enough to be heard over the background noise. "Hey, step away from the vehicle!" Marcus straightened up, one hand still on the hand truck. "Afternoon, officer," he said, keeping his tone calm. "I'm just making a delivery." The Bodycam footage that lawyers would later slow down, frame by frame, showed exactly what came next. No greeting, no attempt to verify, just suspicion. "Let me see your hands," the officer barked. Marcus lifted both hands, palms open. "What's going on?" he asked. "I'll ask the questions," the rookie snapped. "Step to the front of the van, now." Marcus glanced toward the building, hoping to catch the eye of the security guard he knew. The lobby doors stayed closed. People inside watched but didn't come out. He did what so many black men in that position do. He complied, hands visible, movement slow, voice careful. "I'm the driver on this route," he said, walking to the front bumper. "Got a manifest, ID badge, everything. Is there a problem?" The officer didn't look at the badge, hanging visibly from Marcus's chest. He didn't look at the company logo on the van. He reached for the radio instead. "Dispatch, I've got a mail here. Possible burglary in progress," he said. "Send me another unit." In that instant, with one exaggerated phrase, a delivery became a threat, and a rookie's fear became everyone else's problem. Backup arrived within minutes. 2 more patrol cars pulled up, tires screeching slightly as doors flew open. Marcus now stood in front of his own van, 3 officers surrounding him. "Turn around and put your hands on the hood," one of them ordered. "For what?" Marcus asked, the confusion in his voice edged now with something else, the sinking realization that no amount of explanation might matter. "You match the description of a suspect we're looking for." The rookie lied, or at best, stretched the truth beyond recognition. "Hands on the hood. Don't make this harder." The metal was hot under Marcus's palms. He felt the pat-down, the rough search of his pockets. He tried to explain. "My wallet's in my back pocket. My company ID is clipped right here. I've been delivering to this building for years. Ask the front desk." "Quiet," the rookie snapped. "You talk when I tell you to talk." In the Bodycam video, you can hear him breathing fast. Not because Marcus was a threat, because he'd already decided Marcus was one. One of the other officers circled the van, sliding open the side door, peering into the stacks of packages. "No weapons in sight," he muttered. "Looks like boxes." "Could be stolen," the rookie said. "We'll sort it out." He pulled Marcus's wallet from his pocket, flipped through it like it was evidence. "Marcus Reed," he read. "Address." "It's on the license," Marcus replied, jaw clenched. The rookie's response was a smirk. "Attitude's not going to help you today," he said. From the lobby, someone finally stepped outside, the building's head of security. "Hey, that's our delivery guy," he called out. "He's legit. He's been coming here forever. Is there some kind of problem?" For a split second, the energy shifted. The rookie could have pivoted. He could have said, "We got a call, just checking things out," handed back the wallet, and let Marcus finish his route. Instead, he doubled down. "Sir, step back inside," he called to the security guard. "We're handling this." Marcus felt the familiar, bitter taste in his mouth. The taste of being disbelieved in a place where he was the one who actually belonged. Eventually, after far too long, the situation deflated rather than resolved. The more experienced officers, seeing no weapons, no forced entry, no contradiction in Marcus's story, began to soften. One of them quietly asked the rookie, "You sure this is what the call was about?" On the radio, the dispatcher clarified. Caller reported a suspicious male in a delivery vehicle. No report of a break-in. No report of a crime in progress. The gap between suspicious and criminal yawned wide. The rookie shifted uncomfortably. "Fine," he said at last. "We're going to let you go this time, but next time, don't act suspicious around people's buildings." He said it like he was granting a favor, not undoing an injustice. Marcus turned around slowly, wrists sore from where the officer had grabbed him, shirt slightly rumpled, dignity bent but not broken. He took his wallet back. He looked at the three officers, then at the security guard, then at the cluster of onlookers who had gathered near the lobby doors. No one said they were sorry, not really. "Can I go back to doing my job now?" he asked. No one answered. They just walked away. But if you've ever had your humanity stepped on like that, you know the truth. The moment the squad cars pulled off, the real damage was just beginning. That night, Marcus couldn't stop replaying the scene in his head. His kids noticed. "Daddy, why are you so quiet?" his daughter asked at the dinner table. He tried to brush it off. "Long day," he said. But when he closed his eyes, he saw blue lights on glass. He felt hot metal under his palms. He heard the rookie's voice saying, "Don't act suspicious," like existing in his own skin was a crime. He thought about how easily things could have gone even worse. A twitch mistaken for resistance, a flinch mistaken for aggression, a phone in his hand mistaken for a weapon. He also thought about something else, the way the other officers had looked at him by the end. The security guard saying, "He's legit," and being told to stand down. He realized he had something that a lot of people in these situations don't have. Video, bodycam footage, lobby cameras, a record of what actually happened, not just what the rookie claimed. His wife was the one who said it out loud. "You can't let this go," she told him. "If they can do this to you, in uniform, in front of cameras, what do you think they're doing to people without any of that?" She was right, so he did something most people in his position are too exhausted, too scared, or too broke to do. He called a lawyer. Civil rights attorneys hear a lot of stories that start with the same 4 words. "I was just working." Marcus sat in a small conference room, across from one, hands folded, voice steady, but low, as he recounted the entire encounter. He didn't embellish, he didn't need to. The lawyer listened, asked questions, wrote notes. "Did they ever tell you what crime you were suspected of committing?" "No." "Did they have a warrant to search the van?" "No." "Did you give them consent?" "No." "Did anyone from your company come down to support you?" Marcus swallowed. "No," he said. "They told me later it was better not to make waves with the city. They don't want to lose the contract." That detail mattered, because this wasn't just about one officer and one driver. It was about a system of people willing to look away when a black worker's rights were stepped on, as long as the deliveries kept moving and the invoices kept getting paid. The lawyer requested the bodycam footage. When it arrived weeks later, they watched it together. The officer's tone, the way Marcus's badge was visible the entire time, the security guard trying to vouch for him, the baseless escalation. "Yeah," the lawyer said quietly, pausing the video. "There's a case here." They filed suit, not just against the rookie and the city, but against the company Marcus worked for, the one that told him not to stir up trouble, effectively siding with the people who treated him like a suspect instead of their own employee. The lawsuit alleged unlawful detention, unreasonable search, civil rights violations, emotional distress, and, in the company's case, discrimination and retaliation. Because after the incident, Marcus's route had quietly changed. He'd been pulled from the downtown account. His hours were cut. His supervisor started documenting minor infractions that had never mattered before. Punished, in other words, for not just swallowing what happened to him. The city responded the way cities often do. They called it a misunderstanding. In their version, the rookie had acted in good faith. He'd responded to a citizen's concerns. He'd conducted a brief, lawful detention to verify identity. The problem was, juries in the 21st century aren't just hearing stories anymore. They're watching videos. Marcus's lawyer knew that, so when the case moved forward, the footage became the centerpiece. In depositions, the rookie was asked to explain his choices. Why did you assume a possible burglary in progress when the call did not mention a break-in? Why did you describe him as a suspect when all you had was a report of a delivery van? Why did you ignore visible indicators that he was a legitimate driver? The officer fell back on the usual phrases. Officer safety. Training. Rapidly evolving situation. But those words sounded thin when played over images of a calm, compliant man in a uniform being treated like he was one move away from running into the building with a weapon. The company's executives were deposed, too. Why didn't you send a representative down to the scene? Why did Marcus's hours get cut after he complained? Why was he reassigned away from the downtown route, while white drivers who'd had parking tickets or customer complaints kept their routes? Emails surfaced. One manager had written that Marcus was drawing unnecessary attention and making it harder to maintain a positive relationship with the city. Translated, it's easier to sacrifice one black employee's dignity than risk upsetting the people with the badges. If you were on a jury hearing all of this, watching that body cam, reading those emails, how would you decide? Would you see a harmless misunderstanding or a pattern of bias that needed to be called out with something louder than words? Let me know in the comments what you think, because in this case, the real jury didn't hesitate. They saw it. And more importantly, so did the people cutting the checks. As the trial date approached, the city's risk managers did what they're paid to do. They calculated. They looked at similar cases around the country. Cases where black professionals, pastors, homeowners and workers were stopped, detained, or humiliated for existing in spaces where someone else decided they didn't look right. They saw verdicts climbing into seven-figure territory. They imagined jurors watching Marcus, a father with a spotless record, testify about how he couldn't finish a simple delivery without being pinned to a hot hood and treated like a criminal. They imagined the video playing in open court. They imagined headlines. The company's lawyers did their own math. How would it look when those internal emails hit the record? How would customers react to knowing their shipping dollars helped punish a driver for daring to object to mistreatment? Behind closed doors, conversations shifted. What started as defiance, "We did nothing wrong," softened into pragmatism. What will it take for this to go away? The answer, eventually, was written in dollars. A settlement offer emerged, a combined payment of approximately $1.2 million, part from the city, part from the company. No admission of wrongdoing, no public apology, just money. But money in the civil rights world talks. It doesn't say, "We're sorry." It says, "We're worried a jury will say we're much more wrong than this." When Marcus first heard the number, he didn't celebrate. He sat quietly. He thought about his kids. He thought about therapy bills. He thought about the way his hands still shook when a patrol car got behind him on the highway. He thought about the drivers he knew who didn't have lawyers, or video, or the stamina to fight. Will taking this change anything? He asked his attorney. Some things, yes, the lawyer said. Others, no. The city would likely tweak its training. Officers would sit in a room and be shown footage of what not to do. The company would revise its policies, on paper at least, about supporting employees who reported discrimination. There might be diversity trainings, memos, maybe even a press release full of careful language about moving forward. What the check couldn't do was erase the memory. The sting of the words, "You match the description." The heat of the hood under his hands. The feeling of being utterly alone while people who knew better watched from a distance. But it could do something else. It could give Marcus options. He could move his family to a neighborhood where he didn't feel like a problem needing to be monitored. He could step away from delivery work if he wanted to. Maybe start that small logistics business he'd daydreamed about. One where he'd hire people who looked like him and make sure they were never told to just let it go when something like this happened. He could fund legal workshops for other drivers, teaching them what their rights actually are when blue lights hit the rear view. In the end, he took the settlement. Not because the money made everything okay, but because fighting for years more wouldn't magically make it better either. The ink dried, the case closed, the headlines moved on. But the lesson stayed. Publicly, the story was summarized in a sentence. City and delivery company agree to $1.2 million settlement with driver after dispute with police. Clean, sanitized, forgettable. It didn't mention the way Marcus's heart pounded when 3 guns were pointed near him over nothing more than a stack of cardboard boxes. It didn't mention the silence of co-workers who told him they didn't want to get involved. It didn't mention the nights his daughter crawled into his bed after having nightmares about police lights. But you've heard the real version now. You know this wasn't a dispute. It was a moment when someone with a badge saw a black man doing his job and decided, reflexively, that it looked like a crime. And it's not an isolated story. It's part of a pattern. Black delivery drivers stopped for looking out of place in neighborhoods they know better than the people calling 911. Black technicians questioned in office buildings where they literally wear ID badges on lanyards. Black maintenance workers told to prove they belong in apartments they've been servicing for years. Every time it happens, the same poisonous message hums underneath. You are not presumed innocent. You are presumed suspicious, unless you can prove otherwise. At the end of the day, that's what this $1.2 million story is really about. Not just one rookie, not just one city, not just one company more worried about contracts than people. It's about the cost of presuming guilt instead of innocence when you look at a black face. Because none of this had to happen. The officer could have pulled up, seen the logo on the van, walked over, and said, "Hey man, we got a call. Everything good here?" Marcus would have nodded, held up his scanner, maybe even cracked a joke about people getting jumpy. The whole thing would have been over in 30 seconds. No cuffs, no lawsuit, no settlement. Instead, a rookie chose to run the script in his head. The one where black plus van plus boxes equals danger. Others chose to back him up. And a city and a corporation ended up paying for that choice. Literally. So the next time you see a delivery truck parked outside a building, a driver hustling to get through a route, remember this. Behind that ordinary scene, there might be a story. A story about someone who knows every lobby, every loading dock, every service elevator in a 10-mile radius, and still isn't treated like they belong there. A story about a man who turned a moment of humiliation into a legal stand. A story about a $1.2 million reminder that dignity has a price tag when systems refuse to honor it for free. And maybe, if enough of these cases see the light of day, if enough juries and city councils and executive boards have to reckon with those numbers, something deeper will finally shift. Maybe the next rookie will be taught, really taught, that suspicious is not a race, it's behavior, it's context, it's evidence, and that a black man in a uniform with a badge, a manifest, and a van full of packages is most likely exactly what he appears to be. A worker, trying to get through his shift, trying to get home, trying to live. Until that day comes, we'll keep telling these stories, because the more light they get, the harder it becomes for anyone to pretend they're just misunderstandings instead of what they are, choices. And choices, as this case proved, can get very expensive when the people making them forget that the person in front of them is human first, and a suspect never.